Gentlemen, what if I told you that approximately 85% of men are making the same critical mistake in the bedroom, and most of them will never even realize it, not because they don't care, not because they aren't trying, but because nobody ever sat them down and explained how this actually works. I'm Dr. Lila Romano, a board-certified urologist with over a decade of clinical experience, and today I am going to change that. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact technique, phase by phase, step by step, that transforms an ordinary, intimate experience into something your partner will think about long after it's over. We're talking about rhythm, timing, breathing, and the complete science of female arousal. Stay with me until the end, because the third technique I'll share is the one that makes the biggest difference of all, and almost no one is using it. Now, before we get into the solution, I need you to understand the problem, and I mean really understand it. Because this isn't just about what happens in the bedroom. This is about connection, confidence, and the kind of relationship where your partner looks at you the way she used to. Here's what I see in my practice over and over again. Men come in and they talk about performance. They talk about firmness, about duration, about desire. But when I ask them the deeper question, when I ask them whether their partner is truly satisfied, the room gets very quiet. And that silence tells me everything. Here's the truth no one tells you. When a woman isn't satisfied, she rarely says so directly. She doesn't sit you down and explain what's missing. Instead, she pulls back. Slowly, quietly, almost invisibly. She becomes a little less enthusiastic, a little less present, a little less likely to initiate, and the man, sensing that shift, starts to feel pressure. That pressure creates anxiety. That anxiety creates rushing, and rushing is the very thing that guarantees she won't be satisfied the next time either. It becomes a cycle, and most men are trapped in it right now without knowing why. And here's what makes this particularly challenging for men over 50. After decades of life, stress, work, responsibility, there's a psychological weight that enters the bedroom with you. A quiet urgency, a need to perform quickly before something goes wrong. That urgency is completely understandable, but it is working directly against you. Because what your partner needs, what her body biologically requires, is the one thing rushing destroys, and that is time. I want you to hear this clearly. None of this is your fault. Nobody taught you this. But today, that changes. A landmark study published in the Journal of Sexual Medicine found that on average, women require approximately 13 to 14 minutes of sexual activity to reach climax. 13 to 14 minutes. And yet, research consistently shows that the average intimate encounter for most couples lasts somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes total. You see the gap there? That gap, that 7 to 8 minute difference, is where satisfaction lives. And it's where most men are falling short without any idea that it's happening. And then there's the anatomy. In 1998, Dr. Helen O'Connell, a urologist and researcher, published groundbreaking work revealing the true internal structure of the clitoris, work that was later updated and confirmed in 2005. What she found was that the clitoris is not a small external structure as many people assumed. It is an extensive internal organ with over 8,000 nerve fibers, more than double the nerve density found anywhere else in the human body. 8,000 nerve endings, gentlemen. That is an extraordinarily sensitive system, and it requires a very specific, very intentional approach to activate properly. I had a patient, a man in his early 60s, married for over 30 years, who came to see me not for a medical issue, but because his marriage was quietly falling apart. His wife had become distant. Intimacy had dropped to almost nothing. He thought it was age. He thought it was just what happened over time. Within 2 appointments, after walking him through exactly what I'm going to share with you today, everything changed. 3 months later, he came back and told me his wife had said it felt like she was with someone completely new. That's not magic. That's technique. And technique can be learned at any age. So let's get into it. What I'm about to share with you is what I call the three-phase framework. It is the complete stage-by-stage approach to intimate connection that addresses what she needs biologically, emotionally, and neurologically. Every phase builds on the one before it. Skip one, and the whole system breaks down. Master all three, and you become, genuinely, the partner she brags about to her closest friends. Phase one is what I call the awakening. And this is where everything truly begins. Not in the bedroom, but in the moments leading up to it. I'm talking about foreplay, and I need you to stop thinking of foreplay as the opening act. It is not a warm-up. It is not a formality. It is the main event that makes the main event possible. Here's what's happening in her body during this phase. When a woman becomes aroused, a process called vasocongestion begins. Blood rushes to the genitals, the tissues of the vaginal walls begin to swell, and the Bartholin glands activate, producing the natural lubrication that makes penetration comfortable and pleasurable rather than painful and forced. Simultaneously, the internal structures of the clitoris, remember those 8,000 nerve fibers, begin to engorge with blood and become exquisitely sensitive to touch. This entire process, when done right, takes a minimum of 15 to 20 minutes. A study published in the Archives of Sexual Behavior confirmed that women consistently report needing extended arousal time to reach optimal readiness, and that when this time is given, satisfaction rates increase dramatically. So, what does phase one actually look like in practice? It starts with touch that has no agenda. Slow caresses across her back, her arms, her face, kisses that linger rather than rush, deep eye contact that communicates presence, that says, I am here with you, I am not in a hurry, you have my complete attention. Whispered words, breath against her skin. All of this is not just romantic gesture, it is direct neurological stimulation. It is sending signals to her nervous system that say it is safe to open, it is safe to feel, it is safe to let go. For men over 50, I want to be very direct about this. 15 minutes of foreplay is not a suggestion. It is a non-negotiable foundation. Her body, particularly as she ages alongside you, may need every second of that time. Give it freely and watch what it unlocks. Once she is fully awakened, once her breathing has deepened, her body has softened and leaned into you, and natural lubrication is present, you are ready to move into phase two. And this is where most men make their second biggest mistake. Phase two is the ascent, and the single most important word in this entire phase is gradual. At the very beginning of penetration, your movements must be slow, deliberately, intentionally, almost frustratingly slow, at least from your perspective. For the first 3 to 5 minutes, you are not building toward your climax. You are building hers. And those are two very different journeys. Here's a technique I want you to remember because it will change your approach completely. I call it the 7-3 rule. For every set of 10 movements, make 7 of them shallow, staying close to the entrance where her nerve density is highest, and 3 of them deep, reaching further and creating a different, fuller sensation. 7 shallow, 3 deep. This ratio does two powerful things simultaneously. First, it keeps the stimulation focused on the area of highest sensitivity. Second, it creates a rhythm of tension and release that builds arousal progressively rather than peaking it too quickly. It also naturally slows your own pace, which extends your duration without requiring any conscious effort to hold back. Now, here is something the competitor never tells you, and it is one of the most important distinctions between an average experience and an extraordinary one. Most men think the variable to adjust is speed, faster or slower. But the real variable, the one that creates the deepest sensation for her, is depth. Varying your depth, alternating between shallow and deep penetration, creates a completely different experience than simply adjusting your tempo. She feels different sensations, different pressures, different levels of fullness. Her nervous system stays engaged because it cannot predict what comes next. And that unpredictability, that beautiful, deliberate variation, is what keeps arousal climbing rather than plateauing. As you move through phase 2, her body will begin to give you very clear signals that she is ascending toward climax. Natural lubrication will increase noticeably. Her breathing will deepen and become less controlled. Small sounds will emerge, involuntary, honest sounds that tell you your approach is working. Her hips will begin to move in synchronization with yours, almost unconsciously as her body seeks more contact. When you feel all of these things happening together, understand that you are close. Do not change what you're doing. Do not speed up dramatically. Stay in the rhythm that brought her here and let the build continue naturally. Then comes phase 3, the climax. And this is where I'm going to tell you something that will sound completely counterintuitive. But trust me, science is absolutely on my side here. As both of you approach the peak of arousal, your instinct will be to accelerate, to push harder and faster toward the finish. Resist that instinct. Instead, in the final moments, slow down slightly. Just slightly. Deepen your breathing. Make eye contact. Be completely, fully present in that moment. What this does, neurologically, is extraordinary. That momentary deceleration, that pause at the edge, creates a buildup of tension that, when finally released, produces a significantly more intense experience for both of you. Research in sexual neuroscience has shown that the anticipation of pleasure activates the same dopamine pathways as the pleasure itself, effectively doubling the neurological reward. And in that final moment, look at her. This is not a small thing. Eye contact during climax triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone, in both partners simultaneously. It transforms a physical experience into an emotional one. It creates a memory that doesn't fade. That is what she comes back for. That is what keeps intimacy alive after 50, after 60, after 30 years together. Now that you understand the 3 phases, I want to go deeper into the science behind why this works, because understanding the mechanism will make you a better, more intuitive partner. And it all starts with your nervous system. Your body has 2 modes when it comes to arousal. The first is the sympathetic nervous system. Think of this as the gas pedal. It is your fight or flight response, and when it fires up, your heart rate accelerates, your breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and your body rushes toward ejaculation. This is the system that takes over when you feel anxious, pressured, or when you start moving too fast too soon. The second is the parasympathetic nervous system. This is the brake pedal. It is the system of calm, control, and presence. When it is activated, your heart rate slows, your muscles relax, and your body naturally extends its duration without effort. The problem for many men, especially after 50, is that anxiety and performance pressure keep the sympathetic system firing constantly. The moment arousal intensifies, the gas pedal goes down, and control disappears. And here is where your secret weapon comes in: breathing. Specifically, a technique I call the reset breath. The moment you feel your arousal climbing past the point of comfortable control, I want you to think of it as reaching about 70% of your peak. Here is exactly what you do. Inhale slowly through your nose for a full 4 seconds. Then hold that breath gently for 2 seconds. Then exhale slowly through your mouth for 6 seconds. That's it. 4 in, hold 2, 6 out. Do it twice if needed. What is happening in your body during those 12 seconds is remarkable. That extended exhale directly activates the vagus nerve, the primary pathway of your parasympathetic nervous system. Your heart rate drops almost immediately. Cortisol levels begin to fall. The urgency that was pulling you toward the point of no return retreats, and you regain conscious control of your experience. This is not a distraction technique. It is not about thinking of something else. It is a direct physiological intervention that works every single time you apply it correctly. And gentlemen, I want to speak to you specifically about why this matters more after 50 than it ever did before. As testosterone levels naturally decline with age, A subtle but significant shift happens in how men approach intimacy. The confidence that came easily at 30 requires a little more conscious cultivation at 55. That slight uncertainty creates what I call the rush loop, the unconscious urge to finish quickly before something goes wrong. The reset breath breaks that loop directly. It brings you back into your body, back into the present moment, and back into control. There is also the matter of the pelvic floor, a topic I could spend an entire video on, and one I will return to in a future video. But briefly, research published in Therapeutic Advances in Urology has demonstrated that men with stronger, more trained pelvic floor muscles show measurably better ejaculatory control and firmer, more sustained erections. The same muscles you use to stop the flow of urine midstream are the ones that give you conscious control over your timing. Regular pelvic floor exercises, even just 10 minutes a day, can produce noticeable results within 6 to 8 weeks. Combine that with the reset breath and the three-phase framework, and you have a system that is genuinely more effective than anything you'll find in a pill bottle. Now I want to give you something completely practical, something you can use starting tonight. Here is the exact protocol, step by step. Step 1 is what I call the pre-intimacy ritual, and it begins 30 to 60 minutes before anything else. Turn off your screens, dim the lights, sit with her, talk about something that has nothing to do with problems or responsibilities. Touch her, her hand, her shoulder, her hair, with no agenda behind it. What you are doing in these minutes is lowering both of your cortisol levels and opening her emotionally. Emotional openness is the prerequisite for physical openness. You cannot skip this step and expect phase 1 to work fully. The bedroom begins long before you enter it. Step 2 is your foreplay minimum, 15 minutes, and I want you to treat that as a floor, not a ceiling. Focus your attention on areas beyond the obvious, the back of her neck, the inside of her wrists, the curve of her waist. These areas are rich in sensory nerve endings and respond powerfully to slow, deliberate touch. Use your breath against her skin. That warm contrast creates a response she'll feel throughout her entire body. Let the 15 minutes unfold without watching the clock. Be present. Step 3. Begin penetration slowly. Apply the 7-3 rule from your very first movement. 7 shallow, 3 deep, steady and deliberate for the first 3 to 5 minutes. Keep the reset breath available. If your arousal spikes too quickly, use it. 2 full cycles of 4-2-6 will bring you back to a comfortable, controlled state. Step 4 is what I call the pause technique, and I want you to have this ready as a tool rather than a last resort. If at any point you feel you are approaching climax before she is ready, stop completely. Not dramatically, gently. Shift your entire focus to her. Use your hands, your breath, your words. Hold that pause for 20 to 30 seconds, then resume at the beginning of phase 2's rhythm. This pause is not failure. It is mastery. It is you choosing her experience over your urgency, and she will feel that choice in every cell of her body. Step 5. As her signals intensify, increased lubrication, deepened breathing, synchronized movement. Allow your rhythm to build. Maintain eye contact. Increase your depth variation rather than just your speed. Stay emotionally present. This is not the time to go somewhere else in your mind. This is the time to be more here than you have ever been. Step 6 is the final approach. As you both near climax, resist the urge to accelerate dramatically. Slow down just slightly. Breathe together if you can. Look at her. Let that tension build for just a few more seconds. Then release, fully, completely together. And step 7, this one is non-negotiable and almost universally skipped. Aftercare. The 15 to 20 minutes immediately following intimacy are what neuroscientists call the oxytocin bonding window. Both of your brains are flooded with bonding hormones. This is the moment when emotional connection is literally being wired into your nervous systems. Hold her, talk softly, stay present. Don't reach for your phone, don't fall asleep immediately. Use these minutes because they determine how she feels about the entire experience tomorrow, next week, and the next time she thinks about being close to you. Now, before you rush to try these, I want to talk about mistakes, because knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do. The most common mistake I see is rushing foreplay. Men who spend 2 minutes on it and consider the obligation fulfilled. Foreplay is not an obligation. It is the foundation. Skip it and you are building on sand. The second mistake is beginning penetration at full speed. This is painful for her and counterproductive for you. Pain kills arousal instantly and completely. There is no recovering from that moment quickly. Always start slow. The third mistake is only varying speed and never varying depth. Speed is a one-dimensional tool. Depth is where the real artistry lives. Add it to your approach, and the experience becomes something completely different. The fourth mistake is not reading her signals. Her body is communicating with you the entire time through lubrication, sound, movement, and breath. These are not random. They are data. Learn to read them, and you will always know exactly where she is and what she needs next. The fifth mistake is the performance anxiety spiral. If you lose firmness during the encounter, do not panic and do not withdraw emotionally. Simply redirect your focus entirely to her pleasure. Use your hands, your breath, your presence. This is not failure, it is adaptability, and she will remember how you responded far more than the momentary difficulty itself. And finally, this is important. If you are consistently experiencing significant difficulty with stamina, firmness, or ejaculatory control despite applying all of these techniques correctly, please come and see a urologist. There may be an underlying vascular issue, a hormonal imbalance, or another medical factor that deserves proper evaluation and treatment. Sexual health is health. It deserves the same attention you would give any other part of your body. Gentlemen, a man who truly satisfies his partner is not lucky. He is not naturally gifted. He learned. He paid attention. He cared enough to understand what his partner actually needs, and then he gave it. And now, you have everything you need to do exactly that. So, here is my challenge to you tonight. Use the full three-phase framework. Apply the 7-3 rule in phase 2. Have the reset breath ready, and stay present through every single step, including the aftercare. Just tonight, one full, complete, intentional experience, and notice what is different. If this video helped you, I would love for you to subscribe, because I release new evidence-based men's health content every single week. And leave me a comment below telling me which part of this framework you're going to focus on first. I read every single one. This is Dr. Lila Romano, and I will see you in the next video.